Hi, my name is John, and this is my good buddy Andy. You're listening to Packers Blitz Podcast, the podcast for fans done by two diehard fans who survived the dark times of the 80s of Packer football and lived to talk about it. This podcast is dedicated to the greatest fans of all, Packer fans. So, really exciting. Andy and I are doing our first ever mock draft round one. So we are Goody and LaFleur and Murphy and whoever's involved. And Andy and I are going to get it right. Right, Andy?
Yep, we're going to be bringing it. We're going to be bringing it today, John.
So we're going to, without further ado, we're going to get right into it. So we did it a little differently than most people do it because, frankly, Andy and I have sat through enough drafts, and you Packer fans have sat through enough drafts where we're like, here's the guy you should take. And then he goes off the board, and you're like, what just happened? Come on. But my first draft pick, and Andy has a rebuttal to this when he gets to his, but my first one, if we pick offense, and now that's a big if, as we know, the Packers don't pick offense, especially a wide receiver. Our last one was Javon Walker back in 2004 or some ridiculous.
2002, John.
2002.
I'll talk about that in a minute.
Okay, great. So with the 15th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Green Bay Packers select Notre Dame tight end Michael Mayer.
Woohoo!
So
awesome.
Yeah, boo! You're going to hear boos and claps, right? So why did I take him? First of all, he's a popular choice in all the mock drafts. If you look, it's between him and maybe if we do this, change our picks here later, which Andy and I would discuss if we're going to do that when we get closer to the draft. They're picking either the guy from Utah tight end or the guy from Oregon State, and but here, this is why I want Michael, good old Mikey, is because one, and I think this is a big deal. He can block, okay, and that's the main thing. Like Andy and I in our last podcast, last episode, we talked about who we're going to keep and who we're not going to keep in our free agents, and I said no to Mercedes Lewis, or if you could get him cheap, maybe. And then the other tight end, Robert Tonyan, I was like, no. And guess what? Robert Tonyan's contract expired on Monday, and I haven't heard anything what they're doing with him. So he can block, he can catch passes, he has all the qualities to become a quality starter, which that's what we need. Back in the good old days with Favre and Shimura, I mean, that was awesome because you could see immediately if Favre get out of the pocket, oh, I'm looking for this guy. Oh, I got Shimura. And guess what? You look at my homies and Kelsey, I mean, they're just synced together. They're just this perfect synchronization of tight end and quarterback. And that's what and we'll get to this at the end of the episode because we want to focus on the draft. If Rodgers comes back, this is the guy because he's going to get in there. He's going to mix it up. He can block. The real big thing about him, the negative thing is one, yeah, he's got to polish his route running, but that's, that's you really get that at this level. And really what I got from NFL.com, Lance Zierlein, he said that Mayer, this is a direct quote, Mayer might need to polish his route running to become a high volume target, but he's a safe pick and he'll be a good pro who can become a plus player as a run blocker and pass catcher. And starting out, what he's going to need to do until he earns, Rodgers' trust, if he comes back, is really going to be that safety blanket for Love if he's our starting quarterback, right? So we have no idea what's going on, right? But either way, like I said, he's a safe pick. We can bring him in day one, put him out there, and really get someone that's really going to make a difference right away. And especially in our run game, we got to get back to running the football and get back to, like Andy and I have talked about, you got to be able to run, especially the football in the later half of the year. And he's a big kid. I watched him at Notre Dame, and I've watched some of his scout work, stuff on YouTube. Yeah, he reminds me, and Andy's going to get into this more. He's not Travis Kelce, by far, no. But he's, to me, like a Mark Chmura. Mark Chmura, if you remember, did not burn you down the seam. He didn't burn you like Kelce did. But he found an opening, got open, and got that first down. And that's what we need. So that is it for my first pick on offense. And before we get
John,
to
can
Andy,
I interrupt for just a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so that tight end from Oregon State, Luke Musgrave, he's a junior, 6'6", 250 pounds. There's several prognosticators that predicted possibly him as well. But when I looked, there weren't too many offensive players that these prognosticators were picking for the Packers to select. So it was kind of weird because there are a lot more defensive players than offensive players. And you're spot on. The majority of them, and I'll get into this later, picked Mayer. But also another guy I just wanted to mention was Anton Harrison. He's a tackle from Oklahoma. One of the top tackles. That was another one that they were had the Packers selecting possibly. But but we know, and I'll get into this later, that usually doesn't happen that we pick many players on offense in the first round. So then we're really looking forward to listening to who your pick is for the Packers on defense.
Yes. Thank you, Andy. So I know Packer fans, you're going to go like, wait a minute, we already tried that. And it has worked out. So with the 15th pick, this is if I go defense, in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Green Bay Packers select Myles Murphy, edge, Clemson. Now, you're probably going to say, wait a minute, and Andy will kind of, he'll talk to us about this pick. Here's the thing. He's like Rashawn Gary, almost the same size, physical attributes. He is a beast. I mean, when I was watching this tape again at Clemson and everything, he is almost, in my opinion, the same as Rashawn Gary in the sense of, he doesn't get a lot of production in college, but man, if he can do what Rashawn Gary did in his third season, which was this year until he got hurt, wow, that would be a heck of a bookend. You put him next to Preston Smith. You put him next to, with Rashawn Gary. Hopefully Rashawn Gary comes back and everything. You're really going to have trouble. And then, you have Quay Walker. And you're really going to have a really nice core there of young players and veteran players to really get after the quarterback. So here's the quote on him. He's physicality and length to set the strong edge, which guess what, Packer fans, what do we always say? Somebody set the edge so that running back doesn't go around us for 25 yards or worse yet, a touchdown. And his ability to convert first step explosion into power. So, like, that was exactly Rashawn Gary at Michigan. You just saw him, he could set the edge, and just that first step he got off, man, you were like, look out, this kid's going to be something. But he just didn't have the numbers, just like Murphy, just like Gary. His production is concerned, but like they say, it's the same question surrounding Gary. So, here's my 2 cents with these two picks, and then I'll let Andy give his. So either one, you're going to go safe, and you're going to go, okay, I'm going to get Mayer or someone similar to him, and I'm finally going to break the mold. Now, with Rodgers, if he comes back, like Andy and I talked about in our previous podcast, you have to be all in. And this is an all-in guy. This is showing Rodgers, hey, look, we got you a young, strong tight end. You know, he's going to make a difference. If we go defense, which we could, Murphy makes a little more sense because our defensive line, what was our big thing? As soon as Rashawn Gary went out, we had zero pass rush. That last game against Detroit, it was like, what? Somebody sacked the quarterback. I mean, anybody. We just couldn't, get the Goff. And, he isn't like he's this Mahomes or, whoever who can run out there. And no, like he's a statue for the most part. So those are my first two picks. Andy, let's move on to your picks and your comments on mine first.
Yeah, both those are really good picks, John. I just don't know whether either one of them is going to be there when we pick. But we're also that varies so much. A lot of these really good NFL gurus that work on the NFL draft, nobody can really predict what's going to happen. So there is a possibility either or both of them may fall to us, distinct possibilities. So good call on both those. Miles Murphy was actually, I saw out of the rankings, he was ranked number one, the number one edge player, defensive end, outside edge player. And so, good call on that. And then Mayer was also, I believe, ranked number one tight end.
Yeah.
So if either one of those guys fell to us, that would be great. That would be a good possibility for us to pick them. And I'd be happy with Mayer being like Mark Chimera. He was an awesome player for us, and I would be more than happy with that. I just don't, as you're about to find out, I don't know if either of those two are going to happen, but I've got some alternatives. So
here we go.
So as diehard Packers fans know, John knows, I know, everybody knows all too well, the Packers have been drafting defensive players, a lot of them lately.
Yeah, 7
in the first round.
Yep.
And then I'm going to say something that everybody already knows too. In fact, according to Garrett Podell with CBSSports.com, here it comes. Green Bay has not selected an offensive skill position player, running back, wide receiver, or tight end in the first round since 2002, when it chose Florida State wide receiver Javon Walker with the 20th overall pick. The last time the Packers took an offensive skill position player in the first round, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, that's the first one, was the world's top grossing movie. And so that's a direct quote from Garrett. Thank you, Garrett. I did want to just throw in there, and we'll probably go over an hour because of it. I just wanted to say William Dafoe was great playing the sinister Green Goblin. Sam Raimi is an awesome director. He's excellent. And Danny Elfman even did the score, and he's a musical genius. I just want to say Oingo I love Oingo Boingo. So anyway, I figured I'd bring that up.
Nice.
So Packers fans, more than 20 years of drafting no offensive skill players proves that the Packers front office believes that Hall of Famer Brett Favre and future Hall of Famer Aaron Rodgers could do more with less talent. However, one could argue, and John and I have on numerous Packers Blitz podcasts, that the Packers have squandered some of Favre's and Rodgers' best years by not surrounding them with more talent on offense. So it's pretty awesome, John, that I actually got through that because my blood pressure went up a little bit. My heart rate went up a little bit when I was talking about that. Yeah. Okay. So John, any quick thoughts on that? Especially your thoughts on the first Spider-Man movie. You got any thoughts on that?
Oh, Spider-Man, the first one was pretty good. I didn't mind that. I know the new Spider-Man. I can't think of the kid's name offhand right now. He's pretty good. But My only thought is why they haven't drafted a receiver that high is because I think it's always funny. After the draft, there's all these statistics. Once you take a receiver like number one or, in the top 10 or whatever like that, most of them fail. And in fact, it usually takes 2 to 3 years for a receiver drafted in the first round to become a player or basically contribute. It's we'll have to look up the stats sometime, but it's not a great number. It's not really good. So I understand where they're coming from, but on the other hand, is like, look at Mahomes. He won that Super Bowl partly because of him, but he has so many targets. It's like, how could you lose? I mean, and look at Philadelphia. They have a run game. They have a nice receiving core. They have a great offensive line. They get a tight end like a Kelsey. Oh man, Philadelphia, look out! They're going to be solid. So that was just my quick thoughts. So I will let you draft now, or excuse me, talk about my draft a little bit more. So
just a little bit, yeah. Just like wide receivers don't always pan out in the first round, neither do tight ends. But I'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
So on offense, who do the Packers select with the 15th pick in the first round of the 2023 NFL Draft? If you're listening to John,
yes,
or countless NFL mock draft experts, the Packers' first round selection would be, drumroll please, that would be Michael Mayer.
Tight end,
Notre Dame. Mel Kiper Jr., who's been an ESPN analyst and who has appeared on ESPN's annual NFL draft coverage since 1984, picked him for the Packers. He thinks Mayer will be the Packers selection at 15. And so does his colleague at ESPN and NFL draft guru, Todd McShay.
Yeah.
And at least 10 other prognosticators had the green and gold selecting Michael Mayer. And those were ones that I just saw. So I actually counted and wrote them down. I had several articles and several things that popped up on the internet and on my phone. And there were over 10 of them that picked Mayer to the Packers. And that was by far the most of any player. Pro Football Focus called Mayer one of the highest floor players in the draft. John mentioned that before. He caught 70% of his contested targets. And I was watching a video of him making a one-handed grab. I can't even believe he even caught it. He dropped only 4 passes the entire year, which is great. And again, like John said, excellent run blocker.
Run
blocker. So, on the Packers, Mayer can be a dual threat tight end that they have long needed in Matt LaFleur's offense. And with Robert Tonyan and Mercedes Lewis likely gone, Michael Mayer would have a chance to be a rookie starter. So John, you're spot on. I just don't know if he's going to be there again.
Right.
However, this is why it would be most unwise for the Packers to select a tight end at 15 or even in the first round. So according to Wendell Ferreira of zonecoverage.com, and this is from him, recent history suggests that teams should not draft tight ends in the first round. These are the tight ends drafted in the first round in the last 10 years. I'm just going to rattle these off as quickly as I possibly can, not to bore everybody. But in 2013, Tyler Eifert, Cincinnati Bengals. 2014, Eric Ebron, Detroit Lions. 2017, O.J. Howard, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 2017, David Njoku, Cleveland Browns. 2018, Hayden Hurst, Baltimore Ravens. 2019, TJ Hawkinson, Detroit Lions again. 2019, Noah Fant, Denver Broncos. 2021, Kyle Pitts, Atlanta Falcons. And again, that's a direct quote from him. So those are the litany of players of tight ends that were selected in the first round. So far, none of these players have warranted a first
No.
round selection. Kyle Pitts is the only one that still has a chance. However, even he has regressed during his sophomore campaign
Yes.
after having a stellar rookie season.
Mhm.
In the NFL, arguably the top 3 tight ends out there, these are my rankings. Travis Kelce was selected in the
Yeah,
3rd
I
round.
get it.
George Kittle, 5th round, and Mark Andrews, 3rd round. All were selected in the 3rd round or later. In fact, even Dallas Goedert from Philadelphia
Mm.
was selected in the 2nd round, and Darren Waller was selected in the 6th round by the Las Vegas Raiders. So
Yeah.
neither of those were selected in the 1st round either. So the strategy in the NFL draft has typically been to wait until day 2 to select a tight end. The NFL execs know that drafting a tight end high is a risk too great to take.
Yeah.
And then Goody's track record so far has been to select a tight end in the 3rd round or later, just to let you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So John, did I convince you not to take a tight end? And
So
so I want you, before you say anything, remember back in
right.
2000
Oh,
when
no.
the Packers selected tight end
Oh,
Bubba
no.
Franks with the
No, no.
14th pick out of the University
Bubba!
of Miami.
Bubba, I get tackled by one guy and I fall down. Franks.
Exactly. Yeah.
Another
Did you?
use Bubba
So what do you
Franks.
think about the tight end? Take one or
So
not take one?
so
Take Mayer or
okay,
not?
so here's the thing. I totally get where you're coming from, but my thing is, well, first of all, he's probably not going to be there. But if he is, here are your choices, right? Is the defensive, and if we draft defense again, that's 8 first-round picks on the defense. That defense better be like Chicago Bears 85 or Baltimore Ravens 2000 defense, because it's a lot of draft capital. So here's what I get what you're saying, and you got me slightly convinced. However, where are we going to get a tight end in this draft when most of them are going to slip off the board by the time we draft again? You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like,
Yeah, I do.
roll the dice, roll the dice, and get Mayer. Now, Bubba Franks, if you looked at his film at Miami, he could stretch the offense. I mean, if you go back and look at it, you're like, how did this guy? Why did he stink when he came to the Packers? Now, part of that is the offensive mind of the coaches who were there. They didn't use him appropriately, number one. But number two is he was not a tight end to block. And we've seen that a million times when we were watching games. And we also saw that he wasn't a guy that's going to, like Kelce or whoever, beat somebody up. But all these other guys drafted in the last round always make me think of Aaron Jones. I don't know why I know he's not a tight end, Andy, but like Aaron Jones, we took in the 4th round, and when we took him, I went, who? Who is that guy? Well, he'll be cut. And then look at him. Not only has he been a great player for us, but he took which we'll talk about later, took a little pay cut, and because he wants to stay. And I'm like, that is an amazing. So I don't know. I'm gonna say right now, just for your benefit, if they don't take him and he's still on the board, then I want to see what your pick is, because it better be have him go to like Detroit or something down the line or whatever other team and become like this superstar. Then I'm gonna be like, so anyway, that you kind of convinced me. So
Yeah,
who is your
let Detroit take them at 18. We pass on them at 15, and then they take them. So they
yeah?
haven't had a
So
good draft record, drafting
Yeah,
a tight end number 1 either. So,
yeah,
but
because they
so
had
John,
Ebron.
Packers fans, if I were Packers
Yes.
GM, I believe that the Packers should take Quentin Johnston, wide receiver, TCU.
I like
He may
that.
not be there either.
No,
So my reasons for selecting Quentin, the
Yes,
number
let's
one
hear.
reason, the top teams in this league typically do not win because they have a great tight end, running back, or offensive line. They
Yeah, you're
win
right.
because they have two things in common: a franchise level quarterback and excellent wide receivers. The
Sure.
Packers need more receiving depth and
Mm,
offensive playmakers, period.
yes.
Second reason, Quentin Johnston, and I'm going to keep saying Johnson, but it's Johnston, is a
Yeah, yeah.
physical freak coming in at 6'4" and 215 pounds. Green Bay loves big bodied wide receivers.
Sterling Sharp.
And unlike former 6'6", 265-pound tight end Bubba Franks,
One tackle, Bubba
he
Frank.
is difficult to bring down thanks to his amazing strength and balance. And a lot of articles that I read on him, they kept mentioning strength and balance
Mm,
all the time.
mm-hmm,
So I figured
mm-hmm.
I'd bring that up.
Yeah, bring that up.
He is also, this is the third thing, he is also an effective downfield threat with his ability to outrun defenders. Because of his large frame, he could help the Packers' red zone offense. Yes, LaFleur and Goody, that is an area that the Packers must improve upon.
Yes.
And then the last thing, fourth thing, drafting Johnston and playing him alongside Christian Watson could allow the Packers to utilize Watson's skill set even more in the offense. Quentin Johnston would be a major upgrade from Alan Lazard, who could not prove that he was a number one or a number two wide receiver.
Mm.
So, John, what do you think about my Quentin Johnston pick?
So I love this pick, but the reason I didn't pick him, he's not going to be there at 15. He is, to me, Sterling Sharp Jr. When I see him and his freaking big legs, and I see him just run down the field after he catches the ball, I'm like, what? Did Sterling Sharp had a kid? Like, is that his kid? I mean,
Sterling had an incredibly thick neck, too. That
that
guy definitely worked out.
that
Him and his
and you
brother must have worked
remember
out together.
and you remember and you remember Sterling Sharp's balance. Remember, he would get hit, and not that the guy bounced off, but he get hit, and then he'd kind of like just go around the guy, and then good luck when he gets in the open field trying to tackle him. It's just not going to happen. I mean, you had to get a safety and a linebacker and a corner and just push the guy out of bounds. It was a real shame that his career was shortened. I still, and this is kind of off topic, but I still think Sterling Sharp deserves to be in the NFL Hall of Fame. That's my opinion, because he was at that time was the most dominant receiver for probably 2-3 years in the league. I mean, it was just, you couldn't do anything against him. And we won games because of him. Where Favre would just throw it up in the air, and then Sterling Sharp would come down with it, or he would just smash somebody at the goal line and get in. So I love that pick. I would do. I can't do a backflip, but if I could do a backflip, I would love that pick. Is it going to happen? No way. It's not going to happen, Andy. We're in a dream world, because this would make most sense if he dropped to us. But I love that pick.
Well, the funny thing, John, is there are a lot of people in the Green Bay media and other people that were having the Packers select him. So I was kind of going off of what they were saying too, that he might fall. But I think you're right. I don't think he's going to be there.
No, I don't see it.
Because a lot of the reasons I just gave. That wide receivers are becoming more and more valuable and valued. And so, yeah, I wouldn't expect him to be there either. A lot of people think he's the number one wide receiver. And I hope he's there, though. So I just hope he is. That would be awesome if he was.
So if you just look at the draft order, so like the Bears, they're probably going to take a defensive player or maybe a quarterback. Texans quarterback. Cardinals need offensive line. Colts need quarterback. Seattle, maybe, but like the Falcons, the Panthers, the Eagles, the Titans, who all draft, the Jets, all draft before us. Ugh, Dang. Yeah. So anyway,
We're gonna
we
we're
can
gonna
hope. We can hope.
we're now gonna switch to defense.
Defense.
So who do the Packers select with the 15th pick? So if you're listening to the majority of the NFL draft experts, that would be Brian Branch,
I
defensive
like that.
back, Alabama, 6 foot tall, 193 pounds, 4.4 speed, great tackler, great against the run, can play multiple positions, nickel corner and safety. He's ranked number 1 safety by NFLDraftBuzz.com. The other one that they're saying that we might select over and over and over again, Lucas Van Ness, defensive lineman. He's an edge player from Iowa. He's 6'5", 275 pounds.
I don't see that.
I just letting it know what they said. So very interesting. Very interesting. He never started a game. He's a rotational player. He's only 21. He's a redshirt sophomore, but he is a playmaker. He's got 10.5 tackles for loss last season, and he gets a lot of pressure on the quarterback. He had 6 sacks. He has a lot of raw power and a relentless motor. So those 2 players, they were thinking we were going to take. However, if I were the Packers GM on defense, I would select. Here we go, John. Tyree Wilson. Tyree Wilson. Defensive end. They also consider him possibly an outside linebacker and edge rusher from Texas Tech. Wilson. Not the volleyball in the movie Castaway with Tom Hanks. Tyree Wilson could eventually replace Preston Smith on the D-line. He is an even bigger version of Preston at 6'6", 275 pounds. Daniel Jeremiah of the NFL Network has him going to the Arizona Cardinals at 3. However, if he falls to the Packers at 15, that could be a good thing. Jeremiah states, this is him saying, there's a lot of love for Wilson around the league. His combination of size, length, and production has teams very intrigued. There are 2 things that you need to be successful in today's NFL. On offense, you need a quarterback that can pass. On defense, you need to get pressure on the opposing quarterback. Tyree Wilson can do just that for the Pack. He has 5 positive qualities, and let me list these off quick. He has the size to dominate, gets into the backfield with a lot with his amazing athletic gifts, plays with an edge. John will like that. Plays with an edge. Can play with his hand in the dirt or standing upright, and heck, he can even play pass coverage on occasion.
Nice.
Luke Easterling from USA Today Sports says that Wilson has a better chance of being, and this is his quote, one of those rare special playmakers off the edge. Although Miles Murphy is ranked number 1 in many draft rankings and was selected by John just a moment ago, he's number 1 in many draft rankings at the position and picked by some as a more NFL-ready prospect. So I will agree that the Packers' greatest defensive need is defensive end and edge rusher. And so Miles Murphy is a great pick. He's a much safer pick. However, Tyree Wilson is currently ranked number 2 and has a long-term upside. The Packers' defense needs to get to the passer and play better against the run. Tyree can help against the pass and the run. Tyree will help the Packers D turn it around in 2023. This is a similar strategy that the San Francisco 49ers took in building their number 1 defense. Draft the D line in the first round over and over and over and over again. Goody needs to follow a blueprint that works. The San Francisco blueprint works. John, any comments on the Tyree Wilson selection that I had? I mean, your selection of Murphy is brilliant. I'd be happy with either player if either one falls to us.
That'd be nice.
And I think we're in lockstep there with us needing to get more pressure on the quarterback. Be better against the run, and I think that starts up front. So I would be really happy if we took a defensive lineman with our pick. But
so here's the thing with that. Everything you said reminds me of Clay Matthews. Remember when Clay Matthews was drafted? Even though at USC he was on a loaded defense and he was not a starter per se until I think his junior year, and then his senior year he did pretty well. And you remember that? I mean, so I look at like, can this guy come in and be like a Clay Matthews when he wasn't hurt, right? Where here he comes over that edge and, you know, he was flying, catching people. And could you imagine, you know, like I said, having him, Tyree, and then Quay Walker, Preston Smith, Rashawn Gary, Kenny Clark. Maybe we get a couple other, pieces in there. Ooh, man, that's a heck of a defense. You're going to be coming at you big time. But I don't think he's going to be there. So if he's not there, you have to trade up. And if you're going to trade up, that means Goody's going to have to do something he normally doesn't do. And even though I take that back, Andy. Last year, he traded the 2 second-round picks for Christian Watson and moved up, and everybody was like, "Oh, that's a terrible trade." Like,
no, it
Christian
wasn't.
Watson he caught on, right?
Yep.
So, will he do it again? And he did it for Jordan Love, which jury's out, right? Been through that a million times. Will he do that again? Will he say, "Well, we got to build our defense," just like San Francisco, because San Francisco just has been killing us in the playoffs. So that's a good pick, though. I love that pick, and I love the receiver from TCU. I just don't. I don't see Quentin Johnson there, but I would. Brian Branch, out of all the picks, is the pick. I go, yeah, I can see that. So anyway, what were you saying, Andy?
Yeah, they compared Tyree Wilson to Aldon Smith. So it's funny that we brought up San Francisco. Because Aldon Smith was a fantastic player for San Francisco. He got off track a little bit in his personal life. But he was a beast on the edge, a really great player. And they liken him to Aldon Smith. And if you watch video or tape or whatever you want to say with that, it's in the olden days tape. I watched a 4 or 5 minute video, and he looks just like Aldon Smith did. And so if he's the player Aldon Smith was, and then wouldn't get into all the trouble that he got into and played for us, that would be pretty awesome, because Aldon was a generational talent. He just never totally made it in the NFL.
No, he just had a head full of bad wiring.
Right. But Miles Murphy, great selection. I think either one of those two I'd be really happy with. So the thing is, John, I just want to mention this to all the Packer fans out there. John put his picks in first, and I try not to look at them, but I did. So to give John a little bit of credit, I didn't totally go off of who John had picked, but John made a really good selection with Miles Murphy. So either way, Tyree Wilson, Miles Murphy, either one, fine. And the selection that you had of Mayer, another good selection.
I agree.
I just, those players, there's a good possibility none of them are going to be there when we select. But we're going to stay positive. I'd be happy with any of the guys that we had mentioned.
Yeah.
because those are going to be good fits for the Packers,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the key
Yeah.
too. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. And
but
and I like the kid out of Iowa, but when I watch Big Ten games, he sometimes got lost. Like you wouldn't even know he's on the field, and that's not good. But
yeah,
when you did
and
see him
he
on the
was not a
field,
starter. He'd never
correct,
started a single game
and
for at
that
Iowa.
scares me.
And the thing
That
is,
scares me.
but a lot of the people are having the Packers select him, and I'm like,
I just
who
don't
is this
see it.
guy? Oh, he's just a great raw talent and this and that. Well,
We don't need raw
you
talent.
know,
We just need talent. Stop with the
yeah,
raw.
we don't need a project
We don't
either.
need a
And we do,
project.
and we
Thank
need
you.
somebody that can
Thank
play
you.
all three
Yes.
or four downs would be
Yes.
nice.
Yes. None of
And
this raw
so,
talent crap.
and again, that's a lot like Rashawn Gary when he first started out. He wasn't
Yeah.
playing all the time, but
No.
as he got going,
Mm-hmm.
man, that
Mm-hmm.
guy's just an awesome player.
Yeah. So that concludes the first round. Andy and I, we were going to talk about having a second round, maybe third round. We'll talk about that. But it's been fun. I love our picks. So let's move on to Packers news and notes. I will start. Andy,
Okay.
you have everything that I wanted to talk about except just one thing. And I know we got to get to yours because you did a great comment about the Aaron Rodgers thing. So everybody knows Aaron Rodgers is my guy. He's always going to be my guy no matter what happens. But I have to admit, and I'm going to be honest, he's starting to be annoying because Andy will talk about it. But here's the thing. You have two choices, right? In my opinion. You can retire or you can go back to the Packers. Because if you go to the Jets or to the Raiders, well, first of all, the Jets have a defensive coach, even though they got Nathaniel Hackett there. But Nathaniel Hackett is not going to bow down to Rodgers, and if he does, you're doing the same thing LaFleur is doing. So you need somebody who's strong enough to stand up to Rodgers and say, "This is the offense we're running. You got to learn it, and let's go." Right? And to me, I don't see that. Along with the New York scrutiny, there were some players came forward like on ESPN and everything, and they said like the first time a New York reporter asked them a tough question and Aaron Rodgers gives them this kind of hippie yippie stuff, they're gonna go, "What? What are you talking about? Like, answer the question." And that's really hard. And then with the Raiders, with McDaniels there, Josh McDaniels, he is I should say, probably half a season away from getting fired because the players, when he was starting to lose, they turned on him. And then he started to win a little bit. And then they were like, oh, okay, maybe we can buy into this. And Devontae Adams, really? I mean, you basically said, I'm leaving the Packers because I want to be a Raider and I want to play with my best friend. And as soon as your best friend gets unfairly booted out, and man, I'm telling you, Derek Carr is, if he doesn't light up this season and throw like for 40 touchdowns and 5,000 yards with that huge chip on his shoulder, man, that would be shocking to me. Anyway, and then you go, oh, we can get Aaron Rodgers? Yeah, sure, let's do that. And I'm like, wait. You had Aaron Rodgers. You could have stayed. And we were giving you more money, and you decided to say, I want to play with my best friend who's now gone. I want to play for Josh McDaniels, who, by the way, hasn't really proven anything in his coaching stints, when you knew everything here with the Packers that you could say, maybe I'll stay for a couple more years. So that's kind of my a little bit of a rant. But Andy, get into your stuff because I think it's brilliant and very, very funny. So talk about Aaron Rodgers.
Yep. So, John, football fans out there, Packers fans, Aaron Rodgers has emerged from his so-called darkness retreat, Oregon's Sky Cave Retreats.
Yes.
This was where Aaron spent 4 days in a hobbit-like structure to decide his NFL's future. Similar to Frodo Baggins in The Lord of the Rings, that's maybe a stretch. He lived in a 300 square foot room, partially underground, with basic amenities like lights, lights, a queen size bed, a bathroom, and a meditation mat. Now that he has climbed out of his burrow, Packers fans can only hope he can make a decision like Puxatawny Phil can on Groundhog Day. A decisive one.
Yes, thank you.
Even a cute furry critter made a decision by February 2nd. It's now February 26th. I think that Packers fans are in for at least 3 more weeks of winter weather. I just wish Aaron would give all of us fans an early spring and would make a damn decision this week.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. Any thoughts on that rant quick?
No. That
was a rant. I had to write it out. It was so good. It just started coming to me. It started flowing.
Man, I love it.
And I just kept going.
I love it.
Punxsutawney Phil. Who would have thought we would have brought that up in a football podcast, right?
But the good news is Aaron Jones. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, he took a pay cut. So thank you, Aaron. He's staying with us. It's good to have him back in the fold.
Yes.
Defensive lineman Preston Smith and cornerback Jair Alexander both restructured their contracts to get the Packers under the salary cap. More work, though, will need to be done to restructure a few more current players' contracts to free up even more money for free agents and signing our 2023 draft class.
Correct.
So, any thoughts on Aaron? You already said something earlier about him.
I think it's
that's awesome.
Move. I think it's a great move, and I'm shocked.
He took a $5 million pay cut, John. $5 million. 16 down to, I think it's 11.
So, right. So that tells me two things. One, he loves Green Bay and he loves being here, which is great. And I know I'm going to sound like I'm talking out both sides of my mouth. I really want him to have the money. And I hope, when he's done with Green Bay, and if he decides to go somewhere else down the line, someone just gives him an exorbitant amount of money that we kind of go, really? You gave 30-year-old or whatever Aaron Jones that money? But I would love for him to have it. The biggest shock for me, Andy, is Jair Alexander. I didn't see that happening. He doesn't seem like a guy that's like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. He seems like a guy that's like, give me my money. Where my money?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, John. Smith and Alexander, both of them restructured their contracts.
Yeah.
They're still getting paid. They're just putting it out a little bit farther.
They're still right.
So it won't be as much upfront money. They just maneuvered the money to make it work so that they could do some of the things that they had to do. But they're still getting their money. But no, I do understand. Sometimes Jair can be a little bit
selfish.
Difficult. Selfish. Yeah.
Difficult, challenging.
But they're going to have to do more. They got at least,
a lot more.
Gosh, probably 4 or 5 other players that we had kind of mentioned earlier. They're going to.
Bakhtiari.
That's a big one.
Do something. He's got to do something.
We'll see what happens with that. Hopefully.
All right.
Hopefully good things.
Gilbert Brown.
Yeah, so former Packers defensive tackle Gilbert Brown got his leg molded for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. They took a mold of his huge leg.
Okay.
Fans can now see just how huge he was up close and in person. During his playing days, he tipped the scales at 6'2" and 345 pounds. And that was probably a conservative estimate, don't you think, John? I think he probably played even heavier than that. Gilbert's career with the Packers lasted 10 seasons and was inducted into the Packers Hall of Fame in 2008. So, John, any fond Gilbert Brown memories that you have for us?
Yeah. The biggest one is, remember they call him the Gravedigger, which is kind of funny.
The Gravedigger.
Where you just couldn't move him. I mean, you would see. I remember there's a game, Tampa Bay, and at that time they had Mike Allstott as their fullback, and I don't know who the running back was. I think one of the Barber brothers, but anyway, it doesn't matter. And they were running a lead left power play, and here comes Allstott through there. We remember that big Allstott, man. If you don't remember him, go back and look at some of his stuff. He was all shoulders and no neck, and he comes through there, and Gilbert Brown just stood him up, and whoever the running back comes and just bounces off Allstott, just falls down. Gilbert Brown trips or something, falls on Allstott. And it's just this traffic accident of whoa, I think the guy's dead. The other really quick memory is Burger King had a burger called the Gilbert Burger, and it was only in limited areas, and it was something like 5 patties and it was ridiculous. It was you could eat that burger for a week, me or Andy, but Gilbert Brown would eat 2 or 3 of them, and I was just that's not good. That should be really bad for you. But anyway, those are just my memories. He had a pretty decent career, and near the end there, you could tell it was just too much for him. But 10 years, not bad.
Yeah, he was a force in the middle. He took up 2 linemen. Sometimes it took 3 to block him, and on the inside, he took up a lot of space, and he freed up, Santana Dotson and Reggie White, and who was I can't remember the other end on the other side.
Sean Jones.
Yes. So, I mean, him taking up those blockers freed up the other guys to get after the quarterback. And Gilbert occasionally would get a sack or 2, but
occasionally.
He was a great run stopper, great player for the Packers. He had some injury issues here and there, but overall, really, really good player. And he actually was an awesome athlete, John, too. And I heard some stories he was really good in track and field. I think he was a record holder in the shot put or something. And
right.
So he's just you would never know it by looking at him, but he actually was a really good athlete too, as well. So a key member of the Packers' success back in the the early 90s?
Yeah, early 90s. Yeah, he played in Super Bowl 32. That's one of his biggest things. I remember him playing. So let's wrap it up. Andy, take it away.
Packers fans, let's get back to another Super Bowl. That starts with our front office crushing it in the upcoming draft.
Crush it, baby.
That also starts with our future Hall of Fame quarterback making a decision and coming back in 2023. That could be our next mini-sode topic. Right, John?
Yes. Yeah.
Hopefully sooner than later.
Yeah, I'm hoping on Monday I'll come to work and either you'll text me or I'll text you, and they'll be like, good, bad, or indifferent, and we'll just roll with it.
This was really a lot of fun, John. I had a lot of fun with this. Hopefully the Packers fans enjoyed it as well. And thanks for joining John and I, and listening in.
Yes, thank you so much, Packer fans. We love you. Make sure you go to Packers Blitz 80 at gmail.com and tell me about the draft, who you would draft, who you like to do. Also, we're on every podcast site, so you can listen to us anywhere you want. And last but certainly not least, we're on YouTube. You do not see our smiling faces yet, but if you can hit subscribe and get some comments in there, we love that. So, Andy, hopefully talk to you soon about Rodgers. Yeah, so have a great one, buddy.
Talk to you soon. We hope.
We hope. Take care, bud. See ya. This is John from Packers Blitz, and I have a great deal for you. We've been using Podbean for months now, and we love it. So you can get a free month of hosting for your podcast. But wait, there's more. We can also throw in $100 of free advertising where you can advertise on Packer Blitz or many other podcasts on Podbean. So, like I said, we love it here, Packers Blitz. So, all you have to do is go to PackersBlitzPodbean.com. That's PackersBlitzPodbean.com. Click on the special links, and you all set and get you up and running. And like I said, Packer Blitz loves it, and you'll love it too.